Today I am making a classic American cookie. You probably know what that is. It's the chocolate chip cookie. This is my take of the best chocolate chip cookie. It's gonna be, I like my center to be kind of chewy and the outside to be just a little bit crispy. And so for this recipe, you'll need the basic ingredients of any chocolate chip cookie. Chocolate chips, of course, semi-sweet, brown sugar, granulated white sugar, eggs, flour. We put in a little sea salt, which is a little bit of a take on regular salt, baking soda and vanilla, and of course butter. And to get started, we'll take the butter. For the ingredients list is down below, so you can see how much of each thing to add. But the butter, make sure is unsalted. And you need 2 sticks, which is a cup. What we're gonna do is cream the butter. And basically what that means is you add your sugars first, and then you want to make sure that the sugar and the butter is really mixed in there well. So we're going to go ahead and get this started, and it takes about 2 minutes for it to really become incorporated. You want to make sure you do that because it gets too grainy if you just beat it for a little while. So 2 minutes. So this has been going for about a minute. This is an important step. You want to scrape down the sides because you have a lot of raw sugar still there. A lot of butter that conglomerates around the side there, so you want to make sure that you scrape it down, and then we're going to whirl it for another minute. Okay, so it's been about 2.5 minutes. You can already tell that this is a lot creamier than it was to start off with. At this point, you're going to add eggs, and we have 2 eggs. Make sure your eggs are at room temperature. That's a mistake that some people make, is that they will put cold eggs in, and then that mixes with your butter and makes your butter harden. So make sure that the eggs have been sitting out at room temperature. So at this point, we're just going to add these one at a time, and that just helps them incorporate better. So here goes number 1. Let that combine before you add the other one. Add your second egg, and then get that going. And we've beat those into the mixture. We need to scrape down again. You've got to do this 2 or 3 times. You make cookies so that all your sugar is incorporated, all the ingredients are incorporated, you know, at the same level. So even, you know, scrape down your blade a little bit. All right, at this point, we're gonna add pure vanilla extract. And I put in 2 teaspoons. I love vanilla. Most recipes call for 1, but I think vanilla gives it a great, great flavor. So if you can get your lid off your vanilla. So 1 and 2. Oh, I love the smell of vanilla. Nothing like it. All right, now we can beat that in. And you just want to make sure it's combined well, so it doesn't take too long at this point. Look how fluffy everything is at this point. It looks really good. And that's what you want to see. It should look a lot fluffier than 5 minutes ago. All right, that looks awesome. Now, you go from the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients. This is where you add your flour, and for any type of cookie, this is the same process. So you want your flour to have any of the dry ingredients to be mixed together before you add them to the cookie dough. That's because you don't want a big glob of baking soda in a bite of cookie. So you want to make sure that you stir it into your flour first. So I have 2.5 cups of flour. And instead of regular salt, I'm adding sea salt, which is, it's kind of the new thing, I guess, in cookies. People are using it instead of just regular table salt. It's a little bit milder, and it just has a little more flavor. It's also bigger, so when you get a bite, it just like kind of hits you. All right, I had a little bit more than that. Okay, now 3/4 of a teaspoon, which is kind of awkward because I have a teaspoon measure instead of a, not many people have a 3/4 spoon measure. So you basically want to fill this 1 teaspoon about 3/4 full. All right, so baking soda, sea salt, mix it in with the flour so that there's no way you're going to get a bite of salt or baking soda in your cookie. Okay, so once that is mixed in pretty well, which ours is now, You want to mix in a little at a time. So maybe about 1/3 of the flour mixture goes in. This is mainly so you don't get a salt bath at first, or a flour bath. A little more when that's mixed in. And then the last 1/3. Okay, once that's, you can tell when it all combines here pretty well together, and then just turn it up a little bit. You're gonna have to scrape it down one more time, so turn it off here. And scrape down your paddle, and then really scrape down your sides again, even at the very bottom. Sometimes there's flour hidden there. So really give it a good scrape here. And then one more whirl, and then it's time for the star ingredient, which would be, of course, the chocolate. Here we go, the last whirl. All right, now, you notice I didn't really do that very long. That's because you don't want tough cookies. And at this point, if you really beat that around very long, you're gonna have tough cookies that, you know, just aren't the star. So at this point, and this is the point I loved as a kid, because my mom would, she'd get some of the dough off at the paddle, but she would, you know, then give what was left to us kids. There were 5 of us, so I don't know how that worked out. I guess whoever was quickest to grab the paddle. Pull this bowl off so I can get a better grip, and this isn't in my way. At this point, you're going to stir the chocolate chips in. So that's, again, just to make sure everything's incorporated. If you beat too long, it's gonna get tough, make a tough cookie. This is an entire package, 12, I think it's 12 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate chips. And you can also add pecans to this, or any kind of chopped nut, maybe 1/2 cup of chopped nuts. I like nuts in my cookies, my family doesn't, so for their sake today, I'm not gonna put them in. But I really love to toast pecans and put those in my chocolate chip cookies. That's my favorite. In fact, what I might do is make 1/2 and 1/2, like split this batch and put 1/2 pecan in some, so I'll have a few in my cookie. Long enough so that you see that the chocolate chips are in the dough, and then stop. So now what I do is chill this for just a little bit because it's easier to work with. I'm gonna chill this for about like 15 minutes in the fridge, and then I'll show you how to do the cookie. Okay, the dough has chilled for about 15 to 20 minutes, and that's so that they make a nice little round here, little half round. Half circle, what do you call that? Half moon, whatever. On your parchment paper, I lined it with parchment paper because it just makes easier cleanup and the cookies don't stick. And you can just find that in the grocery store. It's a great thing for bakers. And you want to just leave about 1 inch between because they are going to, of course, spread. Ready to go. 350 oven for about 9 to 11 minutes. And I'm gonna start them off in that middle rack. So we'll check them in 9 minutes. You don't wanna wait like till 11 minutes to check them. Start looking at 9 minutes because some ovens vary. And I don't know about you, but I don't like crispy cookies. I want them to be kind of, you know, soft and moist. So in 9 minutes we'll check. Ready? I added another couple minutes. My cookies are bigger than probably the recipe calls for. So, you know, just keep checking them. I checked them at 9, 10, 11 minutes. Now, they look the way I like them to look. They're a little bit, you can tell when the bottom starts getting brown, then that's when I like them. They're not quite golden, but they cook a little bit once you take them out. You have to remember that. And if you get them too done, then they lose that real moist texture. So that's how I like them. If you like a crunchier cookie, leave them in for just a little bit longer, but I think those are going to be perfect. I've let the cookies sit on the tray for a little bit because if you take the super hot cookies off, they kind of break up on you. So let them rest for probably at least 2 minutes, and then just transfer them to a cooling rack, and that way the air can flow underneath them and get them cooled before you eat or store them or whatever. So I will taste one in just a little bit to see if they're as good as they look, but right now I gotta say they're looking pretty darn good. Our favorite chocolate chip cookies are the ones right out of the oven because they are gooey and warm still. So I'm gonna take a bite while they're still nice and warm, but not too hot to burn my mouth. They're great. They are still really moist, lots of chocolate, and the extra amount of the brown sugar, we put a little more brown sugar in there. I think it gives it a nice, more caramely taste than a lot of chocolate chip cookies. So try this. Don't buy the store-bought, you know, bacon roll or whatever you call that, the slice and bake cookies all the time. If you want to make cookies with your family, really make cookies, you know, from scratch and let them see how, you know, those cookie tubes, what's in them. So try a homemade chocolate chip cookie. These are great.